I believe every human being was born to be great. I believe no human being wants to be mediocre.
All I can say about Jay is I've known him for 35 years, and for 4.5 decades, he has been the go-to guy to optimize your business.
Jay is one of the top people on the planet who knows how to maximize a business and its reach to his customer.
You're watching Strategic Edge with Jay Abraham, exclusively on ASBN.
Jay Abraham, thank you so much again for spending so much time with us here at the show at the Strategic Edge with Jay Abraham. We're getting so many great comments about you being on our network, so we're so grateful that you've given us all of this time. And so I want to talk to you today about the multiplier versus the diminisher mindset, which I think you know a little something about, right? So
I do.
Talk to us about that.
Well, let's start with I think it's physics. You either expand or you contract. You can't stay constant.
Right.
So take that and extrapolate. You either grow or you die as a business, as a human being, as an entity, as a relationship, as a partnership, and it can be a business partnership, a marital partnership, a friendship. In business, you either multiply or you diminish, and it means a number of things. It means that as a leader, you're constantly growing your understanding of leverage points that are ethically going to improve your performance, the entity's performance, and all your team's performance. It means that you are going to grow them. You're going to develop them. You're not going to try to squeeze everything out of them. You're going to try to grow everything within them because, very frankly, we talk about capital, we talk about marketing, we talk about supply chain, but the biggest underutilized asset you can ever have is human capital.
Yeah.
People don't realize, I can share with you, and I'll be happy when I'm done with my little soliloquy, there are many soft skills you can teach your team that can multiply their performance, their productivity, their yield, and their impact. And in combination, it's just like what we talked about in the previous show, like the 10-10-10.
Yeah.
It just gives you geometric growth if you understand it. But it has a lot of dimensions. So grow or die, multiply and diminish. You want to multiply the contribution you make to your market, your value proposition. You want to multiply your relationship with your vendors and your professionals. And that may sound illogical because most people just want to squeeze them down, but if you are the preferred client, customer, whatever you want to call it, of a vendor, they're going to favor you with intelligence, they're going to favor you with advanced access, they're going to help you when you need help. I always was taught you pay your vendors right away because when you need them and you can't, they'll be there for you.
Yeah.
But if you basically string them out the moment
That's
you
right.
need them,
You're going to be that. You're going to be that client they don't mind losing.
Being a multiplier or diminisher means that you really multiply the depth of relational capital you establish with your buyers. It means you don't want it to be transactional. We teach preeminence. We talked about it in a couple of other shows. Preeminence basically is about being seen in the eyes of your market as the only viable choice they can make, the most trusted advisory source for life. Even if you only have one thing you're selling, your clients should feel good enough to refer all kinds of other people to you.
Sure.
Multiplying or diminishing means you multiply your buyers' perception of your value so that they will want to refer where that's appropriate.
Sure.
Multiplying means you are expanding your understanding of possibility. There's a really interesting concept. Most people think of R&D as it would apply to either technology or pharma.
Right.
But it really applies to entrepreneurs, large or small, because you want to test all the time new marketing, new markets, new business models, new positioning, new online, offline selling approaches, and most people don't do any of that.
That's right.
And if you think about it, when technology or big pharma does R&D, they lose more often than winning, but when they win, they get the $1 billion,
That's
and
right.
the $10 billion,
Sure.
and the stock exploding breakthroughs,
Right.
and you need to be committed to finding your own breakthroughs, because there's a fallacy with breakthroughs. I'm maybe doing a little tangential, but it's really interesting. Most people think of a breakthrough as a tectonic, technology-driven type of a thing that's going to upend the whole business. But you can have safe, riskless breakthroughs in every facet of your revenue generation. You can have it in every facet of your management. You can have it in every facet of your operation. You can have it in every facet of your supply chain. And if you realize you could have dozens and dozens of safe, no risk, no cost breakthroughs that just make every one of those functions perform much better, it's the 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, and that's how you get exponential explosions. I don't know if that answer is clear
It
or
does.
confusing.
How to multiply performance in your team and your market? You talk about clarity, curiosity, contribution.
Yeah, so let me give you some concrete ways. The first is you want to train them in process training, not event training. So most small business owners don't even really train. This is funny. When I interview sales-driven company heads, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and I say, do you train your salespeople? They all say yes, but they're answering a totally different question. I'm asking, do you train them in consultative selling? Do you train them in listening? Do you train them in Socratic interviewing? Do you train them in being interesting? Do you train them, and a myriad of soft skills?
Sure.
They're answering the question, do you train them in your product knowledge?
Right.
Totally different.
Right. It is.
And when you
It is.
understand
That's right.
the leverage in those skills I just rambled off, each one can add 10, 20, 30% more performance for your salespeople. So the first thing is you have to recognize that there's this whole plethora of skills that can be added to a team member, whether they're revenue generating, operational, anything that can be measured, denominated to increase either performance, profitability, or connection. You can make the person that answers the phone 3 times more impactful. You can make your customer service engage and set up a relational interaction that makes people want to buy more. You can make your delivery people more impactful. Well, I can go through a myriad because I've studied all this and I've helped hundreds of experts who used to focus only on those niches. Some of them have expanded. But when you understand all that's possible, the first thing you want to do is train your people continuously. But the mistake people make, first of all, they don't do it. Little ones don't, little small companies don't.
Right.
When you do, people think that a singular training is a wonderful achievement. In truth, we retain at most 9% of what we learn from a static training.
9%.
You can go to a seminar, you can be trained, you can read
Sure.
a book, take a home study course, whatever you want to do,
Sure.
you'll retain 9%. And here's why. Because when you hear anything, your mind trips out, and you're not hearing the rest, first of all.
Right.
Secondly, it's usually theoretical. Third, over time, if you don't practice it, it just goes like this.
That's right.
But you need to master what's called process training. It is the way a doctor is trained. It is the way military trains. It's the way a pilot is trained. You learn, you progress. You do a little more. You do a little more. You do a little more. You repeat. You do a little more. And you keep doing it over and over again. So if I wanted to really nail training you, I would first of all introduce you to a training module. It could be a day, it can be an hour, it can be a weekend, it can be whatever it is. And then 3 months later, I do it again.
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, I do it again. And here's why. You start here, 0.
Yeah.
You learn it, you get up to here.
Right.
Then you go and you coast down to about here.
Right.
Then you do it again and you go up here and you coast about here.
Okay.
Then you do it again, you go here. And it's a progression. So the first thing is you don't train once and think that is the be-all and end-all.
Right.
It's a process. And people don't always enjoy the second training because they're bored. But if you force them in a benevolent way to keep doing it, the proficiency level they will expand to is unimaginable. It is geometric.
Yeah.
There are many soft skills you can train. As an example, friends of mine that I have helped. Stephen Covey, Stephen M.R. Covey, is the son of the late Stephen R. Covey. Stephen R. did the 7 Habits. His son is the world authority on business trust building. This is very fascinating. People think that, oh, our company's trustworthy. I'm a trustworthy leader. Our salespeople are trustworthy. Our dealings with vendors are trustworthy. But when you analyze what he has, there are 13 characteristics of rock solid, unimpeachable trust, and most people don't even manifest half of them. But when you do, he has documented that it produces a 300% increase in all these denominators: speed of commitment, a sales cycle, size of the sale, stock price, repeat, collaboration internally, favorable treatment by vendors, and yet most people wouldn't even think to learn that.
Right.
There's a person named Roger Love who I will hopefully interview for you in one of these days, who's the world authority on strategic communication.
Okay.
How you are heard, tonality, inflection, cadence, pausing. That has measurable impact. That alone, separately, can be 200-300% impact.
For sure.
There's another person, a woman who's got a funny name, Sally Hogshead, her real name. She is the world authority on how you are seen, authoritatively, fascinating, and she's measured that the more authoritative and fascinating you are, as long as you don't have arrogance and hubris, that's another massive denominator. All these denominators are separate. They're not just one aggregate.
Right.
So this is 100%, this is 50%, this is 20%. That's how you blow up a business safely, and that's also how you get everybody on board. Your people have to be on a unified mission and a crusade in behalf of the buyer.
That's right.
Of the client, the customer, the patient. And you have to realize, Jim, that most companies are transactional. They work very hard to sell. I'm going to sell you the coffee in this for your group outside.
Right.
And then I'm done, as long as you keep rebuying.
Right.
But a preeminent, a growth-oriented multiplier teaches the team and he or she themselves understand the transactional impact. I'm going to know that I sold you the most delectable beans that are going to have the best aroma, the least amount of acidity, and when you consume it and when your team consumes it, not only it will electrify your mental acuity, but it'll be delectable and you won't have a bitter taste. And I live in the transactional world that is the future, not the moment. Right. When you do that and you get all your team to see not the sale, but the impact that your product, service, company, people are making in the lives or the businesses of the people buying your product or service, it transforms anyone. Yeah. I can go on and on, but I hope that answers your question.
It does. And it's interesting that business owners don't go down this road further, because everything that you're saying, I'm sure that there's a lot of people shaking their heads saying, Jay's exactly right on this.
Profoundly powerful.
I hate to use the word laziness, but is there a form of laziness among entrepreneurs that say, well, what he's saying is right, and it doesn't even take any more money, right? It just takes that effort to your point.
I think it has to do with catharsis and catalytic communication. So I have been very blessed. Don't ask me how or why, but I understand things. I can put them together. I can articulate them. I can demonstrate them. I can case study, reference them, and I can graphically illustrate them in a way where you can't argue.
Right.
But most people don't. They don't know how to put it all together. And frankly, the majority of experts, I tend to be a very unique animal. I guess you could call me, if you wanted to, a polymath. Most people are tactical. They're just one thing.
Right.
And they don't understand the holistic integration of everything. I understand strategy, business model, distribution channel, value creation, partnering, preemptive advantage, reclamation of sunk costs. So I can basically put it all together in a way that most people can't. And it's not that I'm that brilliant. I've been exposed to that many, not just scenarios, but in the course of my career, I've helped 350 of the world's top experts
Yeah.
And that's important, not because I've helped them, but in order to help them, I had to learn a distillation
Right.
of their methodology. So what
you're
resides in
taking
my
all of that
brain
in. Yeah.
is, and then if you're blessed enough to be able to express, explain, and put it all together to where it catalyzes somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also cathartic because they go, why didn't I see that before?
Yeah.
I mean, the truth of the matter, if you think about epiphanies, we go, wow, that's a revelation. Most epiphanies have always been there. We've just never seen it connected in the light that we need to be receptive enough. And receptivity and acknowledgement, as impressive as that is an action. We were talking off camera, and I said, it's interesting. Most people who know don't do.
Mm-hmm.
People who do don't optimize. People who optimize don't maximize. People who maximize don't innovate. And people who innovate don't always exponentiate, if that word exists. And there's this connective sort of bridge of interactions that most people are never taught
Right.
to aspire towards, because that's to me the logical progression.
Sure. Is it a comfortability factor that business owners and entrepreneurs may get to?
What I have seen more often than not, or most business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, professionals in private practices, startups, they model the industry. Well, Tony Robbins said this about me when he first understood what I do and how I do it. He goes, if you're the best at what you do, you're only going to still get incremental if you do it the same way as everybody else.
That's right.
But if you introduce methodology, thinking, strategy that nobody else in your industry understands, you're going to get exponential growth.
Yeah.
And you're going to get preemptive exponential growth. I'll give you one more reality, which I think is ironic. I think there's a fallacy in the concept of best practices.
Okay.
If you, Jim, or any of your entrepreneurs, but you also have a positioning in the automotive, if they are the early adopters to a best practice, they have a short window of advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But best practices are designed for everyone to adopt, right? So sooner or later, everybody is doing the same thing, and it goes from a best practice to a standard operating procedure.
That's right.
Now,
That's right.
that doesn't mean all the businesses, not just your business, are more efficient, more effective, but there's no advantage. My belief in business is that it's the ultimate competitive sport. You don't want to compete on an equal playing field if you can have every ethical advantage that your competitor doesn't. and maybe it's a formidable, or it's not ruthless. It's just, why compete just to? So, I mean, I just watched the World Series, and it was very exciting.
Yeah, it was.
But in a year or two, Toronto won't even be remembered. And if you look at most sporting events, you don't remember the loser.
That's right.
So
That's right. Nobody remembers the silver medalist at the Olympics, right?
See, I think most small, medium businesses don't realize how joy it is to compete and emerge victorious. It's exhilarating.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're doing it adding value.
Right.
Particularly if you're doing it more strategically. Particularly if you're doing it with an understanding of how to create geometric, not just current, but residual growth. We talk about 5 gradients of wealth creation in business, and it applies to small, medium. So you want to have more predictable current income. You want to have predictable future income. You want to have windfall income, where you basically go back and you say, I've got this database I'm not using. I've got these buyers that bought everything I'm not.
Right.
I've got this salespeople that are variable. If I can make half of them a little bit better, it's going to blow up my business. You want to have psychic fulfillment, because if you're not getting joy out of what you're doing, you got to get out of it, because you can't be your best.
That's right.
If you're not having fulfillment about what you do, who you do it for, what it does for them.
Yep.
Even if you're like I hate the word like, if you are an ice cream vendor in the park, you have to have a great joy for the fact that if you're in an office area, for 15 minutes a day, you're bringing therapeutic joy to somebody, because they can go back to their childhood and they get a a half hour or so away from the stress of the day,
Right.
and you've got the best ice cream
That's right.
and the most delicious cones, and you smile, you make people better off. But it's a mindset that I don't think most people are exposed to, because I would say this with clinical certainty, not arrogance. I think I'm one of the only people that has ever put it all together.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really eye-opening. It is a breakthrough in when business owners hear it, entrepreneurs hear it, and they're sitting in businesses that could do so much more. And that's what you, I think, bring to the table in an incredible way.
There's a very interesting, and I'll try to paraphrase it. It won't be as accurate. Maybe somebody who hears it and likes it can study it. Peter Drucker, the renowned, he's long deceased, business management guru, used to talk about the difference between a true entrepreneur and a proprietor.
Okay.
He said, he used an example of a deli. I thought it was fascinating. He said, okay, so a proprietor will open a deli in an area where there's a lot of other food, so that he or she is taking advantage of what I'll call the hunger jet stream.
Yeah.
And he said they'll have a clean place. They'll have polite, well-dressed people. The counter will be nice. They'll have cold cuts and bread in the counter, and people will be cordial, and it'll be okay.
Yeah.
It's static. He said a true entrepreneur understands it's all about not just the food, but the experience.
Yeah.
So the first thing is the front of it is going to be so engaging and so fascinating, you're going to be attracted. They're going to pump out the aromas of their, and ask me to tell you about my client in a minute in Florence, Italy, because I'll tell you a fun story about it. It's a pizza group. They have the counter set up to where they're not going to buy the and I won't name a Subway company, but there's a lot of Subway companies, and some of them just sell the most watery pressed because it's cheap, but it's tasteless.
That's right.
So they have the best. They invest in the best. They merchandise and demonstrate it and stack it so that it's mouth watering. They don't buy the tasteless buns.
Right.
They invest in the kind that are so memorable and distinctive you can't wait to come back. They have names that are so memorable and fascinating for each sandwich or each salad. They're people who are dressed in a very unique way.
Sure.
They have tested different ways of communicating and engaging. They make the experience so pleasurable that you can't wait to come back.
Right.
And they make not just the sensory experience, but the whatever you want to call it, the eating experience, because the food is truly superior.
Right.
A proprietor doesn't even think that way.
No. Just get.
And I would argue that the majority of small business owners, and I'm not trying to castigate or accuse, but they don't even think about being a true entrepreneur. A true entrepreneur is a value creator. A true entrepreneur is an experience creator. A true entrepreneur is a value creator, but not necessarily on cheapness, but on different denominations of value. Value is, what am I getting out of the hour I'm expending? What am I getting out of and we talk about me having to worry about gaining weight. What am I getting about that, from that 800 calories I'm consuming? What am I getting about for the $60 I'm spending?
Yeah.
And I don't think they think at all about those things.
They don't. They think in terms of just getting the sandwich over the counter and doing a transaction and moving on to the next one.
And to me, that is so laborious, mundane, unsatisfying, and tactical.
Yeah.
And suboptimal.
That's right. And I think that business owners need to realize that even more in the products and services that they offer, right?
Well, if you think about it, and let's go back to what I said, I think, in this session, it's a competitive sport.
Yeah.
It's getting more competitive.
Oh, yeah.
And the stakes are higher, and the costs are higher, and the yield for most generic commodity type tactical proprietors are getting lower and lower. And if you want to win and you want to have every ethical advantage, you have to think differently. See, this is another thing. If you think about what a true entrepreneur is paid for, they're paid to think, but they're not really paid to just think generically, they're paid to outthink, out-strategize, out-market,
That's right.
out-value create, outreach, perform,
Yeah.
and thus out-earn their competition. And I don't think a lot of SMBs really think that way.
That's right. That's right.
But they should.
They definitely should. There's no
Because
question about it. Yeah.
why would you dedicate the majority of your life, your
Yep.
hopes, your dreams,
Yep.
your
Your money.
income, your retirement, your fulfillment, both financially and psychically, to something that could be multiplied unimaginably many more times over just by shifting how you do things?
That's right.
And why?
That's right. The Strategic Edge with Jay Abraham. Thank you so much.
You're
Thanks
very
for all the time you've given us here on the show. It's just amazing. As I said, I know that so many of our viewers get so much out of your visit with us. So thanks so much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for watching Strategic Edge with Jay Abraham, exclusively on ASPN.